Okay, hello, good morning, and welcome to the Online College of Art and Design. As I said, my name's Matt Theodore, and I'm the Director of Courses here at the Online College, which means that I look after a handful of different courses, including Foundation, which I also lead at the moment as well too, along with Joe Cantwell, who's my deputy on the course. It's a large diagnostic course, the Foundation Diploma, and it runs out at level 3. With a level 3 course, we also have level 4 components within this as well too. The level 3 qualification is based around getting your UCAS points, which is very important to many students in the course. But you can be rest assured that on our diploma, you'll actually complete your final unit at a level 4 level. And although you don't receive this as qualification for the aforementioned reasons, it does also mean that you've had some experience of working out that first year degree level, which is quite a big achievement for many students, certainly many of those that are returning from education or coming into this a little bit early, as some students do as well. So how about the course? Well, the foundation is a really exciting year. It's a year for you to come along and to test out any ideas you might have about future progression. Many of you will come into this with more specialist ideas. We actually accept students into the course with specialisms in fashion, or photography, or illustration, who might come in really quite sure about the type of experience they might want to have and the type of progression. And that's absolutely great. And we also have some students that come onto the course without any idea, with an open heart and an open mind, just knowing that they love studying art. And that's absolutely fantastic as well too. It's a really exciting time for all of you to come along and to work out or to test out the ideas that you've got about your future, and for you to be around a creative team. And that takes me to the team that we've got assembled here on the foundation. One of the great things about studying on an online course, as opposed to studying on a traditional foundation, and I've worked on both for a number of years, is that you get to immediately connect with practitioners. And in our team, we are all tutor practitioners. So everybody I've got on this team is also practicing making, either as an artist or commercially. Myself, I'm a commercial photographer, and you join me today for my studios. Joe Cantwell on the course is my deputy, and she is a practicing fashion designer working on collections for a range of different designers at the moment. And you've got Alberto, who is our photography tutor, absolutely fantastic. He's working on his doctoral program at the moment, and he's a practicing artist as well too, showing. Silvia Carlos in Spain, so practicing working illustrator. Tim Edgar, a theorist and artist, and we've got quite a few other tutors that come in and do lesser amount of hours with us as well too. But that's the core team that you'll be working with here. So the qualification is broken down into either part-time or full-time modes. And you're able to join the qualification, unlike a traditional qualification, at any point in the year. So it may be that you join us maybe in February or March, or it may be that you join us in the traditional mode as a school transition student coming across at sort of 17 or 18 years old in September. And both of those are absolutely fine. So we're really happy to take you through that journey at whatever point you join. The only stipulation out on that is if you want to qualify in the following academic year. So if you started in September and you want to qualify in June, so running the course in a 1-year cycle, then the exam boards are fixed and you need to provide work for that following year. So as a full-time student, you'd be doing that at about 30 hours a week, and as a part-time student, maybe at about 15 hours a week. So we're working towards the once-a-year examination of the work, which happens in the very first week of June. And so we're needing students to prepare work for that time when you're putting things together. So that means that practically most students that start in September will be fine to finish the next year in June. Students that start up to November, about mid-November, are still fine to do that, but we'll have to work really hard and fast to do it in 1 year. Students that students that start the course after the November break will find that they probably need to progress this course over about 1.5 years of study and won't be able to enter for the subsequent year's exam board. However, if there's any confusion over any of this, we're very open to have a conversation with you, and myself or one of my colleagues would be happy to have a chat and tailor the course to you. That's another great thing about the online offer. It means that we can tailor the course to work for you, to work around any childcare needs you have, to work around any other courses that you might be studying as a younger student, or to work around any other requirements that you might need it to, including different timescales. About half of the students on the course are international, and about a third of the students on the course are either returning to study or are coming from non-traditional art backgrounds. So we have quite a good diverse mix here, and that's partly what makes us such a great fit for many students, because you get exposure to lots of other great people that are working on this course with you. So let's talk about the structure of the course a little bit. And as I said, for those of you that have just joined, I will be taking some Q&A at the end of this talk, which will take about half an hour. So the course is broken down into three main sections that we call phases or stages. The first stage is an exploratory stage. This stage runs over 10 weeks in a full-time mode, or up to 20 weeks in a part-time mode, depending on when you start the course. So if you started later in the academic year after September, it would break down. And actually, we encourage students to work with us when they first join the course on setting their own learning plan, or study plan as we call it. And this allows students to work at the pace that they need to accommodate life events such as holidays, or such as, we've had anything and everything on a course. We had 2 students had children during the year last year, which was fantastically exciting and something I could never really have imagined happening on a traditional course very easily. We actually extended the deadlines out a bit longer, and we made things work for those students. And it was a really exciting, brilliant thing to be happening in the middle of an academic year, which we all celebrated. So you set your own study plan and you work out a pace that you need to go at, and we work with you to that pace. There are some fixed deadlines around when you need to be handing in the second and third stage of the course, but the first stage of the course is quite fluid. It's designed to be experimental, it's designed to be playful. And what we're wanting to do for you is to create a safe environment for you to make the necessary mistakes you need to while you're playing, while you're experimenting, while you're playing with materials in that first stage, where you're experimenting, researching, you're trying out working into different genres, or you're working in the specialist genre that you want to, and we're maybe picking holes in that a bit, but not making sport. So what we're doing is we're making a space where you can make, where you can play, where you can do things, where you can try things out, and you can have the experience, the knowledge, and the conversation from professional tutors who are skilled at guiding you in this area. All of the feedback that we provide you is given to you in writing as well too. So at different stages of the course, as you pass them, we'll provide quite substantial written feedback, and we record all tutorial notes through Microsoft Teams. So everything we do on this course is on Teams. You can't ring us up. We don't respond to emails once you've got a hang of things at the start very quickly. Well, we will come back on an email, but it's not our preferred method of communication on the course, and we'll refer you back. The Microsoft Teams platform, when you get going with it, is really easy to use. It will be another thing where you think, oh gosh, no, I don't want to do that. But actually, when you get going with it, it's really good. It allows you to access the course on your phone. It allows you to communicate with your tutors at non-traditional hours, although we might not come back until working hours within 2 days at maximum usually. And it allows you to have a indelible record of any conversation that you've had with us in Teams as well too. So you can come back, you can look at your tutorial student tracking and assessment record, which we give you a star form. And you can also look at all of the Teams chat that we provide for you. So any comments, any advice, anything we might have said to you is no longer sort of hall conversation. These are tracked records of everything that we've said to you, everything we've done with you. Whether you're with one tutor to start with and we move you around because there's a more appropriate tutor for graphics or photography or for fine art, or whether you stick with a single tutor through the whole course, many of these choices are entirely yours, and we'll work with you to get the best fit. So in the first stage of the course, in the experimental stage, you'll be making 3 reasonably experimental projects, and you'll be putting together a portfolio. It's quite a lot of work, and that usually in a traditional mode will run between September and Christmas. However, as I've said, if you join later in the year, we can tailor it. If you're running over 2 years, we can tailor it. So it's between 10 and 20 weeks, the engagement between 30 and 15 hours, and you'll need to try and work to most of the deadlines that we give you and try and achieve them if you want to achieve in the same year. Now, the first stage of the course, we don't grade it. which is great. And we don't on the second, actually, but I'll come to that in a moment. So the first stage of the course is designed to be experimental and playful. It's designed to get you thinking very much about researching, about playing with materials, and about trying to resolve creative projects. And threaded through the whole course is this sense of trying to develop autonomy. And by that, we mean that you're starting to learn like a mature student would learn, or like a student who's studying at university would learn, as opposed to studying in a more scripted model that might be common to an A level or a GCSE if you studied those previously. So what we'll be doing is we'll be setting up ideas and projects that you'll be working on. We'll be touching base with you weekly, usually, or bi-weekly if you're in a part-time mode. I will be talking to you about the types of things you're doing. Now, we might talk to you one-to-one, like I am doing today, and hopefully we'd have a more of a two-way conversation than I'm able to do while I'm speaking at you a bit more today. But we would also speak to you sometimes in a group. We would invite a group of you to come in together. And sometimes we might find it sufficient, and in fact, for many students, it is sufficient because of timescales, to be constantly having conversation in Teams chats. And that would be that maybe you group together questions and ideas and thoughts that you had, and we would return pieces of research, thoughts, feedback on work that you've given us. And you can easily drop bits of work you're making and things into that Teams chat, and you can receive feedback directly against that work as you're going, not just at the end of the project. And that makes for quite a good, lively model where you can learn very quickly and we can give you lots of guidance. I find it works very well for many of the students that might not be able to fit into a traditional timescale. And all of our sessions that we make in these early stages, we record them so that you can play them back, so that you can watch them, so that you can review them, so that you can rewind them, and so that you can think, okay, that's what I wanted. And also most of the presentations and the course material we give you, we also put that material into the course folder for that particular stage. So up to 20 weeks long, that first stage, but generally 10 in a full-time mode. At the end of the stage, we assess you. Now, we assess you in three different ways. We assess you as a student that has passed, or we might assess you as a student that requires a little bit more time, a student that's been referred, and hopefully we get you through, we pass you ultimately on that course. Now, I can't think of any students we haven't got through that first stage, short of them having a life event. And even when that's happened, you know, we can be very flexible on this course. We can usually pause things if we need to for you, providing you're staying in contact with us, providing you're talking to us regularly. We can be very, very bespoke with this course. And that's an ability I never had as a full-time foundation course leader. So I can be much more flexible with how we do things on this course. And that works really nicely for many students. So at the end of that course, when you receive that grade, we're either saying to you, you've passed, you've received enough, you've submitted enough information to us so that we can make the grading that you've hit the criterion in that first stage. Or we might say, you need a little bit more time. Hopefully, we wouldn't say that you failed the unit. I don't think we'd ever really get to that with a student. We would just come back and we'd say, look, no, you've still got to produce this work. You haven't quite got there. It's an exciting and playful first unit. It's designed to push your boundaries, and really on the foundation, what we're wanting you to do is come to the edge of your learning and your understanding, to push beyond it, to find new material, to discover things about yourself in terms of your learning style, the methodologies for learning and creative process that you might want to understand in the first stage of the course, and also to start to understand about yourself a sense of the creative processes and the learning styles that are appropriate to your creative ambitions. Because it may well be that you've come from a previous mode of study where, you know, you thought illustration was fantastic, so you have the most brilliant illustration tutor, and that's great. Or you might have come to that saying that I really want to make photography, and I'm always working with a camera. Or you might come to that saying I'm really interested in moving image, but I don't really know where to start with that. And all of those things are great, but we're wanting you to use the diagnostic element of this course to work with the experienced tutors who are used to telling you, and try and get you to a place where you and I, or you and whoever tutors you're with, ultimately agree that this is the right position for your progression to the next stage of the course, so that we understand the pathway that you will be taking forward. Okay, so the next stage of the course, stage 2 of the course, or phase 2, sometimes referred to, is the pathway stage. And we have lots of specialist pathways on the Foundation Diploma here at OCAD. These are more specialist modes of learning, and it means that your learning experience will be centered around them. In the first stage of the course, we started off with photography. In the second stage of the course, we start off with drawing. And in the third stage and the final stage of the course, we start off with some writing. So in the second stage, we start off with a little bit of drawing. And that drawing takes you into understanding your ideas. Now, as a photographer, many of you might think, but I want to study in a media-centered way. But drawing underpins many things. As a commercial photographer, I need to use my pencil probably more than anything else to explain my ideas to people. And so we do a little bit of simple drawing and playing and experimenting to warm up in the first stage. And then we pick a very specialist mode. And these specialist modes could be film, photography, graphic design, illustration, character design for illustration or gaming, fine art, and let me think, there is one more. It's eluded me at the moment. Graphic design. So we've got a range of different specialist pathways, and we'll find that many students actually are a little bit in between some of those as well too. And your tutors will be moved around a bit to get the right fit for you usually at this stage, unless you're already with somebody who's the right fit. And we're wanting you in this next stage of the course, once again, to work to a non-graded, but a quite structured formula, where you're going to be thinking about more sort of conceptual, there's an art-driven or contextually led ideas, which might lead you forward to a more specialist understanding of this subject area. We're wanting you to very much explore through research how people might be acting in the real world, whether you're a fine artist or whether you're a commercial practitioner, or whether you're a designer who's working to a brief. So there's different creative methodologies. We're getting you to think a little bit more about what might actually happen in your journey ahead, whether that journey's to university, and that's fantastic, we want to help you with that, or whether that journey's taking you onto a different sort of a stage in your life where you might actually be setting up and practicing. And we've had quite a lot of examples of that happening on the course, where students have actually gone on straight directly to working after this, because the thinking that underpins Foundation is quite sharp actually, and we're really trying to diagnose you in a way that you'll really understand your possibilities going beyond this course. And we've had some great success stories, many of which pop up on our social media or come and talk to our students sometimes. So, you know, some really fantastic stuff can come out of that. Many students might actually come to this having studied art many years ago as well too. And so this is just resharpening your thinking again, getting you back into practice. So, you know, all of those possibilities that can come through that second stage of the course. The course, once again, the second stage is between 10 and 20 weeks, depending on when you start. And it would be at 10 weeks if you're wanting to finish at the end of the June in the year that follows you starting. Okay, so, you know, you can't really follow the course through in less than about sort of 6 or 7 months would be nearly impossible. So once again, you do need to be thinking about that very carefully. What we'll be doing there as well too is we'll be trying to get you to understand exactly how you might fit into a certain industry or how you might fit into a certain mode of study at the next stage. We're much more about conceptual thinking, ideas development, than we are about technique. Now, that's not to say that we don't want to see some great technique, but the thinking that underpins that is the most important thing with Foundation. The fact that you really understand what you're wanting to produce, why you're wanting to produce it, and what the requirement for that production might be. So we're getting you to think an awful lot. We're getting you to come to us with questions, and we're specialists at helping you fill in those gaps and helping you understand what you're becoming or what you are or what you might have the ambition to become in the future. And it's a really exciting time. I love the pathway stage of the course. I think it's, for many students, it's a chance to take everything that you've learned in the early stages and distill that thinking down in a very sharpened way. So you try and really are starting to work like, feel like, and think like the practitioner that you might have the ambition to be. At the end of that stage, once again, we'll be assessing you. And for students finishing in a particular year, that stage usually comes in late February time to very early March time. And that stage of the course will be the second stage and the last ungraded stage of the course. With that said, you will need to produce either a pass or a referred grade. Excuse me, bit of hay fever this morning, still hanging out in my studio. And once that grade has been fulfilled, you can then progress to the final stage of the course, which we call the confirmatory or the final major project stage of the course, which is a really exciting time, and it will be the final piece of work that you produce. To get to that final stage, as I said, you need to pass the first, second stage of the course, which are ungraded, designed for you to make mistakes, designed for you to learn in a way that we'd like you to learn, which is to try things out, experiment, play, make huge mistakes, learn through those mistakes, move on. But this third stage of the course is the graded part of it, the final confirmatory study. And it starts off with you writing a statement of intent, which could be in the form of an artist statement. It could be as a sort of design brief that you're writing, or it could be as a commercial project. In fact, we had great examples of live briefs on this as well that many students have done working directly with industry. So quite exciting stuff. And what we want you to do is we want you to write, and this is the one written piece of the coursework. Everything on this course is coursework. There is no part of this course where you sit an exam. Okay, but you do enter work for an examination board. So on this final stage of the course, you start off with a couple of weeks of writing and you submit a formal statement of intent. And that outlines research that you might be using for the project. It outlines different techniques and experimentation that will come within the project. And it also outlines things such as different gallery visits, different practitioners you might be talking to, different surveys that you might be making, all the different information that you might be bringing together in a melting pot to build a final major project. So the project is, in this final one, that there is no project, that you are strong enough and able enough to start designing your own project within a scaffold that we give you. Now, don't worry, you're not alone. We're very much going to be working with you, and we're experienced at helping you draft and write this final project. So it's very exciting, and it does map quite closely to how a final degree would work as well too. So in a degree program, usually you have an experimental first year, a more refined genre-based second year, and a final year which is very self-directed. And that's what you're getting practice at here on this, because we want our students to leave at the end of this course with a very well-refined portfolio, a very clear idea about who they are and what they are, to have tested out and understood in a diagnostic way the creative methodologies that are appropriate to their learning, and to understand the contextual area that they enter. And I think you'll find that nearly all of the students we've had on the course are pretty damn sure about those things. And for most students, that's a progression into art. For some students, however, it might be that the diagnostic elements of the course and the final major project we're now talking about have actually proven a different route is more appropriate. And that's still a great success, because you leave with a strong art portfolio, some creative methodologies that will serve you in any industry, and sometimes a journey which heads outside of art. Because foundation can be a great tool for proving that art is correct and appropriate to your study, but it can also be a great tool for proving that perhaps that's maybe not the right thing for you in the future. So all of those are appropriate responses. So in that final project that you're going to be going through, you're going to be thinking about one particular project, one particular outcome, and one particular contextual area. We want students to try and build a project which is really right for them. We want students to completely engage in that project, and we don't really want you to fall off the wagon and start a different project. We would like you to try and maybe maneuver that project into the right place. And at the end of those 10 weeks on that project, or longer if you're studying in a part-time mode, you'll be submitting your first final major project body of work to us. And that's a formal submission where we also ask you to confirm that the work is your own because you're not within examination conditions on that final bit, although you're away from us. And we can actually give this qualification, I forgot to say that at the very start here as well too. We can make this UK-based qualification available even if you might be studying internationally. I can see a couple of my international students have popped into the back here. So that's nice to see some of my current students popping in as well too. And, you know, it's a UK-based qualification that we're giving here to you. And it's based on up to 112 UCAS points. This final project tops out at. So it would be 112 for a distinction grade, 96 for a pass grade, and 96 for a merit grade, and 80 points for a pass grade, which are valid with UCAS and many other international colleges and universities will also accept, you know, that validation from UCAS and UK university system. So it's a comparable qualification to any other foundation diploma that you'll find in the UK, which is a full-time qualification. It's not an equivalent to A-levels, but students should very much be thinking about the application to a particular university. So many universities will be very happy just to take a high-graded foundation diploma and a handful of GCSEs. However, all universities, if you're wanting to progress to university, will be unique in how they apply their specification. So many universities will be asking for up to 3 area levels and a foundation diploma for very high-flying courses. Other universities will be much more relaxed. And it really is your responsibility to be thinking about if you want to progress to the Slade or St Martin's or perhaps Edinburgh or perhaps a Ruskin University, to really understand if you're going for those absolute top-end courses, what the qualification and specification are so that you're not blinkered to that when you arrive at handing in. Now, let's just return once again, as I digress slightly, to the final major project. So the final major project, once you hand that in, that becomes your final grade. And the final grades, as I mentioned, mapped against UCAS points I just gave. So you would either receive a pass, a merit, or a distinction grade on the course. Now, last year we received over 33% distinction profile on the foundation diploma. Now, that's the highest of any foundation I've ever worked on or with, and that includes more than about 30 different programs that I've worked with or on over the last 17 years. So a long time I've spent with foundation diplomas. And, you know, it's testament to the great teaching, to the fantastic support from our rewarding body, SEG, and also to the brilliant cohort of students. And I think the diversity of age and geographic location are one of the great skills that we have here. Also, you're getting a lot more ability to communicate with tutors. I do remember on, you know, my early modes of study, hanging around in corridors and desperately wanting to, you know, get contact with tutors and maybe having a quick conversation as we walked across campus to their next lecture. It's not like that. We're available to you. We'll make ourselves available, we'll give you time. We'll give you response, we'll give you written feedback. There won't be any questions about the types of things that we've said, but the onus is on you because this is quite a adult mode of study. And by that, I mean that we're not going to chase you around. You're going to be in formal classes every day. You are working in that autonomous way to briefs that we set. You're working more like a professional student where the onus is on you to come back to your tutor, to come back to us and say, this is where I'm at. Now, we will chase you, but that's not to the extent at which we won't let you slip if you're not engaging with us. So you need to be thinking, okay, I've set these deadlines. I've got a learning plan in place through my original application. I know exactly when I'm meant to be handing these units in. And if I'm not handing them in, at some point, somebody's going to come after me on this one a bit. But that's not how we want to be. This is an art course, and you should be passionate about the things that you're studying. And we hope that we're helping foster that passion. So it's a really exciting time. It's a time for you to come in, break new ground. It's a time for you to meet new students from across the world. It's a time for you to gauge in new ideas. Some of the other unique components that we have within this course include, in no particular order, a contextual studies program running over 10 weeks. This is theory, which is taken to a more digestible unit for the foundation diploma, and it's run by our fantastic theory lecturer, Tim Edgar, who will take you through different movements in art, design, and media, which are appropriate to all students and will help populate your research, ideas, and your growth as a student as you go through. This will help you also develop your vocabulary when you're able to start talking to universities and contextually locate your work to really understand. This is something we're quite hot on, to really understand where your work might exist within a critical framework. And by that, we mean the histories that forgo it, the contextual material that surrounds it. So that would be maybe different things that are happening in industry, different movements that have happened in art. It might be different formats that are used for productions. That might be understanding, how people might work through print or through book or through zine or through online formats of presenting work, how people might work into sculptural or painterly or digital methodologies. And to really understand also where you might be going in the future, where that work might have a market. So we're very good at doing this and understanding this and making sure that that's where you understand your work to be in the future when you finish as well too. We also have a very broad range of different inputs into the course. So this might be tutors, students, lectures. It might be that we have different experiences in terms of workshops, which are broadcast as well too. Sometimes we're trying to engage students with people in media. I can think of some good examples of where that's happening at the moment. And as the course finishes and your progression comes to the end of the year, we're also going to put your work into a final show. And actually, the final show of last year's work is actually live at the moment. You'll find links on our progression page to get into that at the moment as well too. So come back to the main OCAD page, have a little look at that, and you can have a look while I walk you around with some other students. On Friday last week, we recorded the session. It actually shows you all of the fantastic work that got produced across our foundation course, and also there's some work of my level 2 and 3 courses in there as well too, which are clearly signposted. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea about the foundation program and how we work with you and the types of things that we're doing on the course. I'll just cover a little bit how you might apply to the course now and what expectation we might have for that as well too. So students applying to the course can do this online. Usually before you do that, you'd want to reach out to us. So please do reach out to our admissions team. All of the details are on there on the Online College of Art and Design page. Have a little look at that, see what you think is going on. Have a look at the specification of the course, see if you've got any questions. If you've got any questions, you can come to our admissions team. If those questions are more academic, you'll end up with one of our academic team who will talk you through that. If they're functional or they're funding or they're money related, then most of that information can be given to you by the admissions team. If the questions are about structure, usually they'll come to us, okay? And there's a clear delineation between those two things because most of us can talk to you very well about the academic side of the course, but not so well about that structural side. Hopefully I can do both if you get to me. Now, the course expectation really is that you would come to this course with either 2 GCSEs at level 4 or above in English and maths, because that would be your minimum requirement if you want to head on to university, plus 3 other subjects. So in terms of GCSEs or any other equivalent qualifications we can talk to you about as well too, including international baccalaureates. We can talk about that to you directly and what we might need. And as well as that, ideally the course would come with at least 1 A level. However, we can be generous on this. We can have a look at your profile and we can be more bespoke in terms of how we apply the level that we think you're at. So, sometimes that will mean having a look at a portfolio, and sometimes a member of the team will have a look at that with you. And that's good because also it will make you feel reassured that you're going to progress on the course. But it is reasonably academic, it is reasonably self-directed. And if you require extra support for a multitude of reasons, we also offer a SEND supported model of the course, which gives extra time to your tuition that you would get on the course. So I hope that's given you a bit of a good brief overview about what we've got here at the Online College. It's really exciting. We might sound like we're just in a computer, but we're not. We're very real people. We're working out of different studios as artists, or we're working with You at different times of the day. Sometimes we're showing you things that we're doing. We're really keen on trying to keep you coming up with the sorts of things that we're up to as we're in shows and as we're making pieces of work. We like to try and show you the sorts of things we're doing to keep you engaged and to keep you thinking about your future and your progression as well too. You're able to access all of the materials on the course at any time of night or day, and the tutors will come back to you within a couple of days framework. Usually they come back to you same day, but it depends on how things are. Some of our tutors are obviously part-time as well too, so it's not always possible to immediately come back to you, but you get very good communication and contact on this course. Hopefully that's answered most of the things that I might be able to answer in conversation with you. Just take a sip of water. But I'm now going to open the floor up a little bit in case there's any gaps in what I've sort of explained to you now, or anything that you're sort of thinking about that you'd like to ask, because I'm more than happy to take that as a Q&A now. Is there anything anyone would like to drop into the chat here? Anything particular that might be helpful, or if anyone wants to raise a hand and I can sort of come to them and I can unmute them? Or if I answered very well most of your questions? Okay, well, we're waiting with our admissions team as well too to talk to any of you if you're very keen to come into the course. I can see there's a question here. Lily, can I just unmute you quickly there? Hi there, Lily. Did you have a question? I can see your hand up, Lily, but I can't see you asking anything there. I have put your mic on if you want to sort of speak to us. I think you might just need to disable it at your end. Okay, I'm going to just bring up the Q&A. If you have any questions, you want to type it into the Q&A. I'll be more than happy to read it out if you can't get your microphone on there for any reason. Hi there.
Sorry, is it working now?
Absolutely, I can hear you now. So it's brilliant. Don't worry, this is the way of online stuff as you get used to
it. I was just going to ask the final project.
Yes.
Would we be allowed to kind of merge multiple art forms into one project, or does it have to be very specific?
No, absolutely. We're wanting you to write your brief for exactly this reason. We give you a scaffold in terms of the types of things that you would need to be achieving within it. And we're very clear on the criterion right from the start. So there's very clear things that we need you to achieve in terms of research, experimentation, the academic nature of the project, the written statement which comes before it. But no, we're very, very fluid. And of course, as a photographer, I've come to realize over the many years that actually fine art comes into my practice an awful lot. That also I'm making a lot more film than I'd probably choose to at times for many of my clients. But actually, I'm working a lot in graphics at the moment. So, the reality of being a practitioner is never that, I mean, for some people it is. I do know some photographers who are just photographers. That's all they ever do. But, I have found that it can be very varied sometimes. What we'll be doing with you is making sure that it's appropriate. And that's partly why we agree this learning statement at the start together. We get this in so we can have a look at it together and say, okay, this looks sound. Or I might look at it and say, oh, I'm not really too sure about this. I think you're on a bit of a tangent here, perhaps. I need to just, focus this a little bit more in terms of an idea. But we will get there through negotiation. And of course, it could be very brief. Do you have anything in mind? I mean, I know we're talking a long way ahead if you haven't joined our course yet. But is there anything particularly that you're thinking a little bit about?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of experiment. I do lots of different kinds of art. So like I do photography and drawing and poetry, and I kind of
wonderful, absolutely perfect. Yeah.
Okay, well, I just wanted to check that would be.
Yeah, no, you'll see lots of fine art which is accompanying or working with or working to. You'll find sometimes that photography will do things such as directly describe poetry, in the same way that an illustrator might illustrate for a book. So exactly. So you might find that you could be doing sort of quite poetic things. I remember talking to one of my most one of the artists that I thought was most inspirational in my life that I've ever listened to, and I was lucky enough to have a chat with Anselm Kiefer, and he said that somebody said to him in a symposium, to Kiefer, he said, if you weren't an artist, what would you like to be? And he said, He said, actually, I'd like to be a poet, but I didn't think I was so good with words, but I hope you see that in my work. I thought that was so profound and so
Yeah.
powerful from one of the greatest living artists of our age, in Kiefer, of course, that, he aspires to be poetic. And actually his work was a form of poetry. He actually hoped that people read it as poetry. So, there's some nice thinking there. And that's the thinking we're wanting to get you to. And, it's great, working directly with us like this in quite a small team, even though there's a couple of hundred students on the course. You'll get very familiar with us. You'll get to know us well. We'll talk to you a lot about things. And, if we don't quite get the right fit, you can talk to us. We'll take it on the chin and we'll move you around a little bit. And the team as well, too. We'll find you someone that's really appropriate. So my background is fine art and photography, particularly. But I have a great love of poetry and literature as well too. I think mainly because of my reading. But you'll find many other fits on the course as well too that might be the right fit for you. And we'll tailor that as well, especially through your final project. We think you're not quite in that right place. We'll say, I think you need a bit of time with this person, or maybe we might bring a couple of us in to have a look at what you're doing. Does that answer your question in
Yes,
a few hundred words for a fairly straightforward question?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
I was wondering is the entirety of the online classroom on Teams then, or is it?
Okay, so we don't have a classroom standard, so you wouldn't be popping up with your head with 30 different students in a fixed class. As I said, it's a more autonomous mode of study that we follow on this. So we're setting new projects and checking in.
Yeah, sorry. I just meant as in the workspace with all of the coursework and.
Yes, it's part of your agreement as a student that you work entirely on Teams for this course.
Okay.
You will get very used to it. It might drive you a little bit mad for the first bit, but we will hold hands. We will be polite and helpful. And you'll find actually being able to ask a quick question on your phone during the day actually is a really useful thing to be able to do with your tutor. You can just rack up a question for your tutor of your course leader and just put it straight into your Teams chat, which comes up like a text almost on your phone once you've set it up right. And you can just quickly say, hey, I'm out on location shooting some photography today, and I'm just really stuck with what I'm doing. Or, I really wasn't sure about what you said the other week when you launched that illustration brief. I really didn't understand what you meant by this word. You can put those questions to us and you can get responses before, you get to a critical point where we're looking at your work. You can quickly think, oh, okay, I've had some feedback here. That was quite good, actually. So we're wanting that to happen with you. We're wanting you to sort of understand that. And we also, in the final project, we do some project reviewing as well too. So through the final project, we do a very soft version of a critique. So, what we do is we get students to come together and present work a bit and have a little bit of a look at what they're doing in groups. So we can really bounce off each other a little bit and we can really enjoy that. Does that answer your question again?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, it's great. Okay, I'm going to disable your mic now if you're good. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else got anything else they'd like to ask? Some really great questions there from Lily. I thought were quite appropriate. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions or nobody wants to type anything into the Q&A, there's also a Q&A tab you'll notice in your screen. If you don't feel like you want to ask the question directly, but you'd like me just to read it out, I'll anonymously read out any responses. So if you want to pop something in there. Okay, well, thank you all very much for your time. I'm going to close the session out now. And please, if you've got any more questions, particularly if they're functional ones, come back to our admissions team. Or if you've got anything where you think, oh, I really wish you'd answered that, or I really wish I'd had a response, put it into us in writing and we'll come back to you. Okay, thank you very much for your time and have a great day. All right, take care. Goodbye.